Now, the movie I'm reviewing is Nightmare Alley, the newest Guillermo del Toro movie. It was about face. What? It was about a grifter or a con man, whatever you want to call it, comes to a circus and starts learning how to con people with mentalist illusions, basically. You know, the people who can cold read and be like, I sense some way with the letter R in the room. Your name begin with an R. I sense you had a dad once. You know, those people. And it was a noir movie, or a neo-noir movie, as they're called now for some reason. Because as far as I can tell, they're still just noir movies. I don't know why it's neo-noir. And there's two types of noir movies. The one is the one that's usually kind of adventurous or mysterious, and I usually think of them as mysteries, even if there's not really a mystery in it. Like Brick was one that came out maybe 10 years ago. It all took place in a high school. I think there was kind of a mystery. Oh, there was a mystery in that one, but it wasn't the main focus of the movie. It was more just how this guy interacted with the people around him and kind of, I mean, it was that was the other thing. It all took place in a high school, which I thought was very interesting. That one's very good. And then there's the other kind of noir movie, which is basically just everyone in it is a horrible person. Except for, like, in this case, Molly was, like, kind of the innocent woman who's just caught up in all in it. That's usually kind of a trope of these types of noir movies, is there's, like, one person who's just caught up in the whole thing and is kind of an unwilling victim, or not a completely willing person who's still kind of involved in some way. Like Molly definitely is in this one. It's kind of a slow burn of just how depraved this person becomes and how it all kind of comes crashing down around him in like the worst possible ways. And he deserves it all. And it's also Bradley Cooper, which is kind of another one where, like with Benedict Cumberbatch with The Way of the Dog yesterday, that it's a typically nice actor or a person who plays nicer people typically playing like just the worst person imaginable, practically. And this guy's even worse than Phil. I mean, Phil at least had like reasons behind what he was doing outside of, I just want to make a lot of money. I mean, Phil didn't want to make money, it seemed, for the most part. I mean, he still did. That's not what his drive was. This guy is just one of the worst people imaginable. He just basically cons the people around him into his life, and that's that's who he is to everyone. He's just a big con man to everyone, and by the end, you really feel like he gets what he deserves. Karma is like the message of this movie, I think. It's a very powerful film. It's different for Guillermo del Toro. I mean, it still takes place in a circus, so there's like a freak show and stuff like that, but outside of that, there's nothing like mystical about it, or whatever, magical, whatever you want to call it. Like, it seems most of his movies have something to make it otherworldly in one way or another, like Hellboy, or a movie with the giant robots. I can't think of the name right now. Oh, Pacific Rim? Was that it? It was something like that. And I really like noir movies, just in general. I always kind of have. I don't know why. I just, because everyone's so awful, that makes it kind of more real to me in a way. And also, they're just exciting, I think. Even the ones like this that don't have, like, a mystery or an adventure to, like, kind of drive it. And this one's, like, very dark. And, like, I really appreciated it in a lot of ways. I'm not sure if I would, like, recommend it to most people, just because it is very dark and like brooding in a lot of ways. I'd say if you like Martin Scorsese mafia movies, you might like this. It kind of has a similar feel to a lot of those that I've seen. I've only seen a few, but kind of like The Departed or Goodfellas. It's really kind of intense in the ways that that movie can be. Both of those movies could be. Well, this was another like really good movie. Oh, the biggest problem, the only real problem I had with it is it was very slow to begin. And, like, I was watching it with my sister, and she even mentioned, like, oh, it's been an hour already, and there's still a whole movie to go. And that was, like, right when the movie started to pick up. And, just that first hour is, like, really slow, and, like, not much is going on. There's a couple of interesting things as he kind of walks around with the people of the circus and learns everything he can about the acts he wants to learn about, I guess. Once he starts being more evil, once he breaks bad, then the movie gets a lot more interesting, a lot more intense. But it's kind of slow to get there. It's not that big of a drag, though. I feel like that the first part of the movie probably could have been edited down by at least like 15 minutes or something. It would have been a lot better. But outside of that, I thought it was a really good movie. The acting was amazing. The story was intense. It had some parts that were really dark, but it's like it gets to a point where like the darkness is so much that like some of the scenes I just kind of started laughing, just being like, "Oh, that is so horrible." I just started laughing like an idiot. So I don't know if that's a plus. Like maybe I guess it has elements of dark comedy. Is what I should say. But you'd have to like be really into dark comedy like I am, I think. But normal people might just freak them out. I don't know. Fucking normal people, right? Oh, I really liked Willem Dafoe's part, and he was really only in the first hour, in that slower part, but I really liked his part, and I kind of wished that he had a bigger role in the rest of the movie, but it wouldn't have made sense for him to be there, but it was still, he did a really good job. Like a supporting actor or whatever. He was like the head of the circus. He was kind of explaining everything, like all the darkest things about him, like how to raise a geek, basically. It was just like, oh man, it's so horrible. But it's like, that's how you run a circus. It was like, I don't, hopefully that's not how we still run circuses. But the cinematography in all of Guillermo del Toro's movies are like always really good. This is no exception. It's just very well done and matches the feel perfectly. I mean, that's always true in Guillermo del Toro's movies. It's one of the reasons his movies are great. But this one like really stood out as like really good cinematography and really good set design. I don't normally like notice set design. Well, again, Guillermo del Toro, he like goes above and beyond in those aspects of the technical aspects of making a movie. Like he's really good at designing how everything looks. And one thing I forgot to mention. This is it's a retelling of a book that was also made into a movie, and I think that in the actual 40s, because this took place in the 40s. I don't know if I mentioned that. But this movie was so good, I think I might go back and find that movie, the 1947 one, just to see how it differs and see what's different, and maybe read the book, too. I don't know. Just, it was a very interesting story, and I'd almost kind of want to see how this differs from the other tellings of it. Well, the cinematography was great, whether or not I finished talking about it. I think my favorite aspect of the whole movie, if I was just to pin down like my favorite thing about it, I think it was just Bradley Cooper's performance, just because it was such a different role for him. Because you don't really see him. Like, even though he's the main, he's usually the main character, and he's the main character here, but I don't know. I just don't really see him as being, like, so evil. He's usually kind of a goofy guy in most of his movies, truthfully. Kind of a happy-go-lucky guy, like in The Hangover. Or just kind of a jazz nerd, like in La La Land, you know? Like here, and here he's just, like, totally different from anything else I've ever seen him do. Surprised he's not up for Best Actor. Or maybe he is, and I just forgot. He is not up for Best Actor. Oh well, but it really is like a knockout performance by him. It's something very different from what I've seen him do before, and it's very good. Okay, I'll just give it a rating, and that rating will be 9 out of 10. And the only reason it's detracted at all is just because of the really slow pace at the beginning, which wasn't too bad. It does have some good stuff in it, but so it's not like a total drag, but it does drag. Oh, and anyone watching, please like and subscribe, and feel free to ask me to review anything you want me to review in the comments, and I'll try to get to it at some point.